as soon as the internet decides to cooperate with me. Her name is Caitlin. She's pretty awesome. I'm hopefully get to know her a little bit better with you guys, with your help. Let's go to bring her over. Good morning, Caitlin. How are
Good
you?
morning. Hello, hello.
All right. So I've been following you for a while, and a lot of cool stuff's been happening with you. So I want to go back to sort of the beginning and kind of because you just had about what 5 or 6 weeks ago you had a form of weight loss surgery, correct?
Yeah, it was about 9 weeks ago.
Okay. I want to kind of go back a little bit before that and kind
Sure.
of get an understanding of what led up to that moment and and led to the decision to have the weight loss surgery. And then we'll
Yeah.
move forward from that.
Um, so I guess it's important to know that I've been large my whole life. And I have done the weight loss thing more times than I can count. Um, and December 2023 was a really hard year for me, mentally and emotionally, and I kind of just accepted that I was going to be fat. I had reached 500 pounds at the beginning of 2023, and I just was led to believe that like what it is for me. I can't lose weight. I've tried, I've failed every diet there was. I failed everything that there could be to help me lose weight. I'm just meant to be fat. And I entered a community, the Feederism community, and I started actively gaining. And I gained 100 pounds in 2023. And then December of 2023, I had a really big health scare. I was in the hospital during Christmas without my kids. I spent a week in the hospital and I was moments away from going septic and dying from an infection that was brought on simply because of my weight and because of my size. And that was a really big eye opener for me. And I knew that something had to change if I wanted my kids to have me in their lives longer. I have a lot of childhood trauma and stuff, and I didn't want to put my kids through having to bury their parent at such a young age. So they were definitely my biggest motivators. And January 1st, I did what I feel like 90% of the world does, and I made a commitment to lose weight and get healthy. And something just stuck, and it one week turned into two, turned into the month, turned into 2 months, and I was still being consistent. I was still going strong. And a lot of people ask what was different this time, like why is it working this time? And I truly believe that I want it this time, and I need it. And a lot of people are like, how do you stay motivated? And for me, it's very black and white. It's life and death. If I do this, I'm going to live. If I don't do this, I'm going to die. And that's exactly how I view it. Every time I get a craving, every time I want to binge, every time something comes up, it's do you want to live or do you want to die? Because if you go the route that you've done for years, you're going to die. You're not going to gain another 100 pounds. You're not going to make it that far. You're not going to make it that long. And I have a really amazing doctor, my PCP, and she is the sweetest littlest woman in the world. She's never shamed me for my size, and she's definitely has been open about weight loss surgery, but when I'm ready. She never pushed it. She always said that it's an option and we can explore it when I'm ready. And I went to her and I said, "I'm ready. Can we do this?" And we started the referrals and we started the process. And I can admit that I used to view weight loss surgery as the easy way out. I had that attitude towards it. And I have come to realize that for me in my journey, that weight loss surgery is a tool. And I need this tool to be successful in my journey. Um, and then I had weight loss surgery in April 22nd. I lost 78 pounds before surgery. I'm now down 131. And I mentioned in a TikTok the other day, like, I'm not even halfway done. Like, I'm not even at the halfway mark. Like, I was nearly 600 pounds. Like, I have a lot of weight to lose. Um, but I'm doing it one pound at a time. Some days 0.2 pounds at a time. But I'm doing it, and it feels really good.
You mentioned something that I'm not familiar with. What is a feederism?
So Feederism is a kink community. It's I don't know how to explain it, but for me in my story, I experienced men that fetishized women my size and got off on me eating. They would, and a lot of people are like, how did you afford to eat the way you were eating? How did you afford to eat yourself to 600 pounds? I was in a community where these men would just send me money all day long as I ate with it. There was nothing like sexual or anything like that. It was here's 40 bucks, send me a picture of the receipt from Burger King for the whole $40. Take a picture of all the food that you just ordered in the drive-through on your chair. Once in a while, it would be like, take a video of you taking a bite of the burger. But honestly, like, it was as simple as that. And um, it was hard because I finally found a community that accepted me as I was. I felt wanted, I felt desired. I went from being the fat friend in my friend group that nobody really like paid attention to like romantically, to being one of the top, I don't want to say creators, but one of the top people in that community as a woman. I mean, I had thousands and thousands of men that were messaging me, sending me money, and just wanted me to become immobile. And a big thing that has recently come to light in that community is death feederism. And it's exactly what it sounds like. These men wanted to feed me to death. And like I had said earlier, I was in such a fragile mental state in 2023 that I catered to that, and I thought that's what I was meant to be. I was meant to become immobile. I was already so far gone, there was no coming back. So I might as well go all the way.
That is something that I've actually never heard. I mean, it makes sense because I know that there is a lot of what would be considered like legitimate content out there, like the mukbangs and like the
Right.
people who just go and they'll go and they'll get like everything from like Sonic or whatever. They're like, I'm gonna eat everything that they have. And I'm like, and I've thought about making kind of content wrapped around that, not as a shaming kind of thing, but more of how do we get here type of thing. Cause I know that
Right.
there's a couple schools of thought. So like I'm in, my journey is a weight loss journey. Most people who are tuning into this that are watching and will be commenting in this are on a weight loss journey of some shape or form. Some have had weight loss surgery, some have not. Some have had weight loss surgery and still have to go back and start over again and lose weight the traditional way because there's no other surgery to have. Um, and we see that content, and then we also see, someone like a person like Tess Holiday, for example, who is huge in the body positivity side of things, where even the idea of dieting is considered fat phobic and and that kind of thing. And it's just to me such a strange outlook to have on the whole process. Because I mean, I was a big person. I was over 400 pounds, and I was getting to the point where I was immobile. I'm 6 foot, 6 foot one, was over 400 pounds, was having trouble finding restrooms that I could fit into and finding clothes that I could wear. And it wasn't an enjoyable life. It was, and the fact that there are some people out there who would say, well, that I'm fat phobic or because I want to lose weight, or someone who would shame you for wanting to lose weight. Or I imagine if when you left the other community, there was probably some kind of backlash to some degree as well. It's just one of those things. It takes a lot to wrap your mind around.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the I still get contacted from that community, which is annoying. I still get PayPal money sent to me, and in the comments it says, "I hope you get Burger King with this." I'll get a Cash App with someone's phone number. Hey, text me. I've had people that have found me on TikTok and Instagram now and have sent me messages saying that they're there to watch me fail. And when I do fail, they'll be right there to help me eat and get back the 131 pounds I've lost. um it's 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 been rough, it's been tough. I've been very open with my journey. I've gone viral for sharing my story. I now have a huge following that I never thought would be a thing. But there's definitely, I mean, there's good and bad that comes with everything, and I just try to handle it as best as I can. It's funny because we talked about the bathroom stuff in our DMing each other yesterday. And it's been wild to sit back and like think about all that stuff. Like, I recently stopped using a chair in the shower. And it's like to just sit there and be like, you let yourself get to the point that you needed to sit down to take a shower. Like, you got yourself to that point where you needed a bathroom wand to be hygienic when going to the bathroom. And a lot of people on my videos and stuff was like, how is that not your rock bottom? Like, the fact that you had to order a wand to properly go to the bathroom, like, why wasn't that enough for you to change? And it's like, it wasn't. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think that like I let myself get to those points and it wasn't enough for me to stop.
I understand that completely because you would think like I got to the point where I was starting to wear, like buy 5X t-shirts and I wore my pants under my belly and I was wearing 50-inch pants. And I said if I would have wore them above, where you're supposed to, they'd probably would have been 60, 65-inch pants. And all these things, the bathroom things, like I had, stalls I couldn't use at my work. I couldn't use my downstairs bathroom anymore. Um, there's just a lot of those things like, you would think, well, that would be rock bottom. That would be what would be the eye opener. And for me, it was a number on the scale at the doctor's office, seeing, 421 pounds or whatever. And that being like, okay, now it's real, even though I was dealing and you've dealt with all these hardships that are weight related, and you can't get through the day without having, without dealing with something like that. And you would think that that would be, the sentiment is correct. You would think that that would be rock bottom for me, for you, for thousands of people out there, that that would be what would be the tipping point to start doing something about it. But at the same time, for me, the hopelessness, the idea that there was nothing I can do, there was no way to get around it was, I think, a bigger brick wall kind of blinding me to the fact that I should be doing something.
Right. Yeah, I agree completely.
And one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you, kind of got the idea to reach out and say, "Hey, let's do this live," is you have been posting some content with comments and such that you've been getting on your social media. Luckily, for me, I don't get a lot of that. But I think there's a disconnect between like a man's weight loss journey and a woman's weight loss journey. I think there is differences, especially with social media, where social media is concerned. People don't, and I'm not trying to like woe is me, but people don't care as much about me, right? Yeah, I have people who follow and support me, but it's a little bit different where um I'm not scrutinized as much as say a woman would be, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I think you're getting the questions that I always thought I would get, well, why don't you, like, one of the questions I said is like, why don't you just eat less?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Caitlin, why don't you just eat less, Caitlin?
All right. It's
How,
problem solved.
yes. And I know that that's, and I had a video about that the other day, like just the fact that people who have never been overweight, or if they have been overweight, they're like 10 pounds overweight, they're like, I need to get this baby weight off, or whatever the case is, right? And they've never had a true issue with satiety signals. they know what it's like to just eat and be like, "Oh, I guess I'm full," instead of eating until you are in literal pain and then go, "Well, I guess if I eat anymore, I might die." I just kind of, I think that's just one of those things I see, and I know that they have no idea what they're asking because
Yeah,
to
and I
them it just
mean,
seems so simple.
social media, it's hard. Like it's an amazing part of my journey. It I mean, I on TikTok alone, I have over 250,000 followers that are holding me accountable, and support me and give me motivation, inspire me. They remind me on a daily basis why I am doing what I'm doing, but it comes with a lot a lot of backlash. A lot of trolls is what we call them in the internet world. But we have a lot of keyboard warriors, and it's I know a lot of the things that are said to me on the internet would never be said to my face. And I have to realize that. um I think the one thing that comes to mind the most is I have a video that has like over 12 million views, and I am meal prepping spaghetti squash and portioning out. I have a food scale in the frame, and I am portioning out spaghetti squash, and I am talking about how hard it is to lose weight. And people have torn that video apart. It's not hard, it's easy. If you didn't have a plate of cheese in front of you, you could lose weight a lot easier. And just completely ripping me apart in that video. And I will stand by it. Losing weight is hard. It's losing weight is simple. Like science is science, math is math, like calories in, calories out, moving your body, all that stuff is it's very simple to lose weight. But I truly believe that there's a difference between simple and easy.
One thing I
If
would say is if it were if okay, so this is the different sort of like a view of a community that we have here. So like the idea of, and I think reason why so many people fail is the idea of calories in, calories out, and the fact that you just eat less, move more. That's just kind of one of the, like, I've tried that, and I know a lot of people have tried that, and that's why I think so many people fail. There's like, I think for us, it's once you find what works for you, then it becomes a lot easier. Once you can find the satiety, once you can find out that you can eat and find the satiety and find where you're full, where you're just, okay, I'm cool. I've had my food for now and I'm okay now. I think that's the major struggle. And I think that so much is pushed like the calories in, calories out. And I know there's a lot of people out there who will die on that hill. But to us, and what we found is that that whole idea of like low calorie, low fat, all it's basically it's bullshit.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why, pushing, and focusing on proteins and fat and being able to get your insulin low enough to where your body can actually access the fat stores that it has. So if you would look at someone even like me, I've got, say I'm 300 pounds right now, 315 pounds, somewhere in that neighborhood. I should probably be 180 pounds. So you're looking at, I've got, what's that? 200 pounds to lose, give or take, or what, 100 plus pounds to lose. That's 100 pounds at 3,500 calories a piece. That's 350,000 calories or whatever you would say of fat on my body. So in that instance, I could probably live for a year on just the fat stores that I have.
right.
So I just kind of, like, and I think we get, and so, that's where like, where I get so upset when someone's like, why don't you just eat less? Well, that's easy. Eating less is not easy. If you're a person who has no satiety signals and or your satiety pathways are all jacked up because of insulin resistance, then you're not going to be able to eat less. You're just going to eat until you can't physically eat anymore, and you're
Right.
never going to feel satisfied. So that's what I worry about. All that kind of that being perpetuated by a lot of people out there. Just don't eat. It's I don't know. I'm very passionate about it, and I know that there's a lot of people out there who don't agree with the insulin model versus the calories in, calories out model. But I don't know. But I know a lot of people in the group that here would be probably more inclined to be on my side with that. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. But sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. My biggest thing is if it was easy, like I wouldn't have made it to 600 pounds. You know what I mean? There wouldn't be this huge obesity epidemic. Like it's just you sound stupid saying that it's easy. You know what I mean? Like I just it frustrates me because I am working very hard and it's challenging for me on a daily basis. So to have thousands of people just be like it's easy, they're minimizing all the hard work that I'm doing to get to where I am. And that's frustrating.
Because if it was easy, more than half of the United States wouldn't be obese. We wouldn't
Right.
have millions of obese children. We wouldn't have the obese epidemic that we have. Like the 2/3 of Americans are diabetic, whether they're undiagnosed or not. So there's a definite issue here, and it comes down to it's not calorie. I mean, and I know it comes down to what's being pushed as far as what's healthy. Like I would say, anything with a heart check mark on it in the grocery store, avoid it like the plague. I mean, it's just they're telling us they're selling us a bill of goods, and it's killing us.
Right.
Another thing that I saw in your I was wanting you to send me because I know I saw them in your like when you make the videos with the different comments. There was why don't you eat less? Um, and there was a couple other ones, and now I'm trying to remember what they were. I mean, like, how do you get that way? All
Yeah,
the
I get a lot of that. Like, how do you get to that point? How do you get that way? How did you get so fat? Um, it's it's very simple. I ate. I ate a lot. I ate anything and everything. I was eating constantly. I mean, a thing that I talk about often is, I was eating fast food multiple times a day and sometimes multiple places for just one meal. Like, it's I ate myself to 600 pounds. A lot of people will comment on my stuff and be like, "Oh, it could be medical, it could be thyroid, it could be PCOS, it could be nope, no, I ate enough food to get me to nearly 600 pounds. Like I did this."
All right, so my good friend Cindy here has a question. She wants to know what is a typical day of eating for you now, or before. So I guess before surgery and now. I would say we've
Um,
kind of we've kind of touched on the before surgery, but kind of leading up to surgery. What were you eating versus what are you eating now?
So I was eating a lot before surgery. And then 2 weeks prior to surgery, I was put on a liquid diet, which was very difficult for me. And I have been very honest and open about it that I did slip up a handful of times in that 2 weeks. Um, I ate myself to nearly 600 pounds. So to have that and then be like, oh, you can only have liquid for the next 2 weeks, like that's insane to me. I think that's a crazy requirement. I don't think it's realistic. Post surgery, I was having one protein shake a day, which was taking me most of the day to get down. Water, I was having maybe 16 ounces a day, and that was taking me all day to get down. The first week, 2 weeks were pretty brutal. They were pretty scary. I had a lot of regret, which I'm very honest about. I was like, what did I do to myself? What did I do to my body? I can't live like this for the rest of my life. I went too far. Like this is a mistake. There's like I can't go back. My life is ruined. And then I stopped comparing myself to other people that were hitting their protein goal, hitting their water goal. And I was just going at my pace. And eventually I would say it took me about a month and a half to finally reach the goals that my team had in place for me. My water, I'm supposed to be getting 64 ounces a day. And it took me about 2 months to get there. Protein is 60 to 80 grams a day, and it took me about a month and a half to get there. But I eat a lot of protein and a lot of dairy. Raw vegetables are still very hard to digest for me, which has been like another, not to go off topic, but it has been like another weird like realization. Like when you hear someone that's like, "Oh, I'm losing weight, I'm on a diet," you instantly think like salad, like a lot of salads. And like I can't eat salad anymore. Like lettuce is very hard on your stomach. Raw veggies are very hard on your stomach. So that's been kind of like a mind trip for me. But I eat a lot of eggs. I eat a lot of like tuna, chicken. It's funny because like I do track, and I would never I would never consider myself keto, but it's funny when I look at my macros at the end of the day, I am eating a very similar diet to the keto diet.
I mean, and that's what I've seen is that's the weird thing is a lot of people won't try, not won't, or they don't know about keto or whatever prior to having a weight loss surgery. But then as soon as you have the weight loss surgery, basically the recovery diet is keto. So
Right.
I would say you're probably more likely to find satiety there too if you're focusing on the protein. Um, Hopefully you're getting enough electrolytes in if you're feeling foggy or lightheaded and that kind of stuff. Make sure you're getting
Yeah.
those in.
Yeah, which I
Um,
do. I drink. I know, like it's stereotypical, but like I do drink like the Powerade Zero, Gatorade Zero for electrolytes and stuff. I can't think of the name of it, but like the powdered like electrolytes that you can like add to your water. Um, I can't think of the brand, but like I don't know if you know Gourmet, but like
mhm.
he has a lot of brands that he loves, and I've tried a couple of them. But yeah, electrolytes I'm definitely trying to get in, especially because I'm not drinking as much water as I used to.
I love Mike. Mike is amazing.
Yeah, he we've been connected for like going on 5, 6 years now.
He's got enough. I haven't had him on here yet. I've been wanting to. I want to be on his live his podcast thing too. He's got a fantastic story for any of those who don't know. But Gormy is a fantastic guy. So Cindy had weight loss surgery in 2007, and she then gained most of her weight back, and then has been doing like keto carnivore to get back. So so that's
Which
why, yeah.
I think Cindy's story is important. Like a lot of people think like you get weight loss surgery and everything's solved. Like at the end of the day, if I want to gain weight, I can. At the end
Yes.
of the day, if I want to re-stretch my stomach, I can do it. I used to eat to uncomfortable. That's not new to me. If I wanted to be uncomfortable while eating, I could do that right now. Like it is not a it's not a cure. Like you have to do the work. And I'm not saying like Cindy didn't do the work. Like I don't want to knock Cindy. I don't even know who Cindy is. But at the end of the day, like just because you get weight loss surgery doesn't mean you're going to lose all this weight and it's going to stay off.
Right.
Like
'Cause I think
I was Go ahead.
that's a big misconception too, because I see a lot of people who go in and have weight loss surgery, and then they kind of get into, they have all the good habits, so to speak. They have all of the practices they're taught when they're coming out of the surgery, and they're going and they're seeing their people. And so that was one of the things that my wife and I talked about when I came home from the doctor the day that I was over 400 pounds, and I'm like, we've got to do something. And she's an RN, and she at the time worked on a floor where she dealt with a lot of like pancreatic cancers and such, but they would also get like weight loss surgery, like people coming in a couple years later with complications or something needed to be redone with their weight loss surgery. So it was one of the things that we talked about as the absolute last resort for us. And just because she saw it day in and day out, and it terrified her. She's like, well, you see people in the beginning and it's difficult, and you have to, no matter what you do, you have to make a change. And you've seen this, right? So
Mhm.
you have the surgery, and then basically the surgery is a tool as it forces you into making a change you couldn't do prior to the surgery. So I mean, it
Right.
forces you. Then it's taking you all day to drink 16 ounces of water, taking you all day to have a 12-ounce protein shake or whatever the case is. Like literally all day, where you could have just been like, boop, gone before. It would have been no thing. You probably, I could have probably drank a case of protein shakes in a day and been
Right.
just fine. Where so we talked about that, and it's such a disruption in the body that we wanted to. So we were like, well, let's go low carb. We did Keto wasn't on our vernacular yet. Low carb, we didn't even know what low carb was really. We were like, I think when we first started the first couple of like the first month, we were doing like 150 grams of carbs a day, which is like 10x what keto would be.
Right.
So I mean, we just didn't know. I mean, and this was 2016, and as we went on, took us about a year from when we decided to do something to when we started keto, basically in the beginning of 2016 to the end of 2016, and just so happened to be searching for recipes. Kept getting this website that would pop up for children with epilepsy, and they were utilizing the ketogenic lifestyle to help keep control of the epilepsy and such for these children. And then my GP, we were going for a follow up. I was going to have a hernia surgery, and he was like, "Well, if you want to lose weight, you got to be in ketosis." Okay, well, he didn't elaborate. He didn't tell us anything about it. So I was like, "Okay, ketosis, keto." Okay, so I found a podcast, the two keto dudes, and I mean the rest is basically history now. But at the time, it was a lot of self discovery. It was a lot of just figuring it out because it was a lot more difficult then than it is now, where I mean you can walk to the grocery store now and pick out 15, 20 items that have keto this big on it.
Right.
So now that you've had the surgery, you're about 2.5 2 months or so out from surgery.
Yep.
um you're kind of sitting into a routine. So now what does that routine look like?
I've recently started getting in more movement. So I've been going to the gym now. I do some strength training stuff 3 days a week, and then just simple cardio 2 days a week. I go for an evening walk with my kids every night, which has been a little emotional for me. At 600 pounds, I wasn't playing with my kids.
No.
And that's like disclaimer, side note, like I get a lot of hate about the fact that I have children and that I was nearly 600 pounds. And I'm a good mom. Like my kids have never been neglected. My kids have never gone without. My kids have everything they want and need. My kids did not eat like me. My kids had food at home. I wasn't giving my kids fast food every day. Um, my kids have healthy relationships with food. Um, but at the end of the day, the reality is my weight was affecting my children's quality of life. Um, and that's a hard pill to swallow. And that's something really hard to admit. But I can say that their quality of life is getting better because mine is. And we are going for walks after dinner every night. I live in downtown Salem, and it's beautiful. And I've never taken that, like, I've never like I've taken it for granted. Like I live on the ocean, and you know what I mean? Like I've never been able to like walk the beach with my kids, and now I am. I've never been able to walk the beautiful walking paths that we have all over the city, and now I can, and I am. We walk to the playground and walk home from the playground. So that's been a huge part of my new daily routine. The morning I have a protein coffee. That's kind of something that I'm known for. It's just 2 shots of espresso. I pour in a protein shake, and some days I'll add like one of those skinny zero everything syrups. Around lunchtime, I'll have a heavy protein meal. Lately, it's been a zero net carb with some laughing cow cheese and turkey or chicken, whatever I have on hand. Sometimes I'll have a snack and like on my ride home from work, and that which is always protein. Everything I eat is protein. If it's not protein, I'm not eating it because I'm going to get full. And if I'm getting full on stuff that's not protein, then I'm not going to hit my protein goal. Um, and then I come home and I have dinner with my kids. And again, protein focused. I do my nightly movement. And yeah, it's very repetitive. A lot of people are like, oh, we want to see what you're eating every day. Can you post what you eat in a day? And it's like, I eat the same thing every day. Like you guys are gonna get tired of seeing it. Like it's protein.
You'd be
It's
surprised. Just post it. I
right,
mean, because you never know. So, and this is the way that I look at content creation in this space. Okay, so just because you may have a handful of people who may get tired of seeing something that you're doing, there's going to be a laundry list of people out there who are riveted by what you're doing and wishing they could do it too.
right,
So, and I think leading by example and showcasing what you're doing, why you're doing it, and being a positive force in the community, just showcasing what you're doing, how you're doing it, and never worry about being repetitive because there's going to be people who don't see your everyday that they will see some of it. So they're
true,
never going to, like I repeat myself all the time, but you never know what piece of content that's going to get through to somebody that just needs to hear it.
right. That's true. And it would help me make more content. So
Yes. And I mean, it shows consistency.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people need to see that consistency. And we all have those creators that we look up to. I mean, I've been there. I mean, whether it's Gourmet or like Goody Beats or all these people that are out there that would make consistent content, and then when they kind of stop, then you kind of go, where are they? Is everything okay? And I think that's a huge piece of it. So I mean, if you're eating the same thing every day, show it
right,
because it's valuable. It may seem boring to you because you're living it, but to somebody else who's like where you were 6 months ago, that might be the difference between success and failure for them. Seeing you do the consistent, because that's the hard part.
it is.
I mean, getting the surgery is getting the surgery is a difficult decision. I mean, I'm never going to say that it's not an easy. I think a lot of people look at the surgery as an easy, quick fix, but we all know it's not. It's definitely a difficult decision to make, and usually a long process to getting the surgery. It's usually like a 6 month process, and if you miss something, then you got to start over. All that kind of. I mean, I've had people that have gone through it and almost gone through it, and then things didn't work out, and they didn't get it, and sometimes they're disappointed, and sometimes they're happy they didn't get it. There's going to be both sides of that. And I think just showcasing what you're doing, and it helps you too, because if you can build that consistency and you're doing your walks with your kids, you're eating your daily meals, you're posting it to social media, as social media is a thing to help you too. It's a way to keep you consistent. Because then if you're like, well, the people they're going to want to see what I eat today, then you're going to be more likely to post that, and you're more likely to not slip up as well.
Right.
So, what's something, even though this is new into the journey that you're on, what's something that you've learned thus far that you didn't think you would?
Um, I think that I'm capable. Like I can do this. Um, I have surprised myself significantly. Um, I I have failed so much that like I just felt like, all right, Keelan, we're giving it another go. How long till we're off track again, And something I say is, never miss a Monday. Like that I was known for that. Like, oh, I'll start Monday. I'll start Monday. And Monday never comes. And it took me a long time to learn that. And just learning that like I can do this. I've been doing this we're going on 7 months now. Like I've officially reached the longest I've ever been committed to a new lifestyle. 2019, I first was on social media as 509 to Damn She's Fine. And I lost 130 pounds naturally in 6 months. And then I gained it all back, plus an additional 100 pounds. And now I've reached a point in this journey where I have surpassed that journey in weight and in time. And that's been a really amazing feeling.
I mean, it's an impressive thing, especially knowing kind of getting the backstory that I wasn't aware of. So, going from where you've been in the situation that you were in with, with everything. It's not different necessarily from where I was with, just eating, and just living to eat really, and finding a way out, at clawing your way out and finding, I think there's hope there. There's hope that there's a possibility to find a way out, to, be it with surgery, without surgery, but however somebody can find a way out. You're a shining example of the a human's ability to not be too far gone. There's always a light that you can go towards.
Right. Like
And I think yeah.
I was 598.2 pounds. I was 1.2 pounds away from being 600 pounds. And I was days away from being immobile. You know what I mean? Like I was ready, like I couldn't work, I couldn't drive. I recently posted a video showing how I was driving at nearly 600 pounds. Like I I truly believed that this is the life that I was meant to live until I die. I was like, you're 600 pounds. There is no coming back from that. Like, you are too far gone. Look at all the work that you had to do to lose weight when you were only 509 pounds. Now you're nearly 600. Like, you can't do that. Like, and I truly believe that. And I had a community of people telling me I couldn't do it. And my only hope was to become immobile and to break free from that and to like do the complete opposite. Like it's been a whirlwind and it's been amazing and humbling, and it's just, if I hate to sound so cliche, but if I can do it, anyone can do it, is how I feel. Like I truly was at, I mean, I only know of one other person on social media, Teresa. I don't know if you're familiar with Teresa Parrott, but I
I don't
believe
think
that
so.
she was like 640 something pounds. And she's lost over 400 pounds. Like she's amazing. But like I don't see people my size, my heaviest weight doing this. And I think that's important. I mean, you see like 600-pound life, but like that's a whole nother topic. But like, I just, it's so I have like no words. I'm almost like speechless just thinking of it. Like I truly was so close to being immobile, and now I'm walking 15 minutes at a time without having to sit down. I'm taking showers without having to sit down and get in and out of the tub to sit on the toilet to catch my breath. I'm going up my stairs in my house and not being out of breath when I get to the top. I'm walking from my front door to my kitchen table without needing to sit down immediately. Like that is so wild to me.
I mean, it's legitimately impressive. I think it's it's just one of those, it's just like I said, it just goes to show like the resiliency of human beings. I think we get to the point where we don't like we get so down like on humanity. I mean, there's a lot of negativity. We see it online. But you said it like, people aren't going to talk trash to you to your face. I mean,
Right.
you may get somebody, but I mean, the majority of the people who are saying something to you online either aren't real, there's some kind of troll farm. I mean, the sad thing is that that's a real thing. And then there's people who are maybe in the same situation as you, but they're going to talk a lot of trash to you because they can't face it themselves.
Right.
And and I think there's also a large community out there of people who will look at somebody in a situation like where I was, where you are, where you're, and what you're doing, and discount it and go, I mean, I see all the time these things about social media creators who are plus size creators who have now passed on. And like, well, they're dead, they're dead. I'm like, but what is that? What does that gain? Is that should be a wake up call to a lot of people that something's wrong.
Right.
And I mean, that's what I mean. These things is, I mean, not just that, but the fact that I know that there's people out there who feel the way that I used to feel, lost, hopeless, helpless, all those things. that, if I could come on here and talk with you or go on and make videos or just post on social media that maybe somebody, one person may be able to change themselves for the better, makes it all worthwhile. Because I mean, there's
Yeah.
no money in this. I mean, there is somewhere, but I haven't found it.
Right.
But I mean, it's just I feel compelled to do this.
Yeah. And I say it all the time when it comes to like the hate comments and stuff. Like, I will deal with that tenfold to have that one person send me a DM and be like, I left the Feederism community because of you. To have that one person send me a DM and be like, I lost 1 pound this week. Thank you. Like, that makes all that worth it to me. And like, I'm saying one DM, I get hundreds and hundreds of DMs a day, and I feel bad and I feel guilty that I can't respond to all of them, which has like, that's like a mental thing for me. But like, I am affecting people's lives and I am helping people, complete strangers on the internet. So if that means that I have to deal with the negativity and the trolls and the comments, so be it. I'm like, the pros outweigh the cons. You know what I mean? The support that I, for the one troll comment, I have thousands of supportive comments. And that's what keeps me going, is I truly believe I'm making a difference. Um, and it feels really good.
And just like, like since your journey when you would post like your weight counter, you're down 0.2 pounds, I'm like, that's perfect.
Hmm.
Even if you're up a pound, so what?
Right.
The thing is like, coming out of surgery, one of the things I think I was trying to make sure that you understood was coming out of surgery, your body's like, what the hell's going on? You know what I mean? Like your body's like, ah,
Yeah.
and that you were expecting to lose weight right off the bat when your body's like, I don't know what's happening. And it's
Right.
inflammation and there's swelling and all these things, and you're retaining water like crazy because your body doesn't know what's going on. And I'm just like, hang in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't
And
matter. It doesn't matter
I
if you're losing 0.1 pound or no pounds. Look at the end of the week and kind of get an idea of where you are. As long as you're always trending down, you're
right.
going to be golden.
And I was very grateful for you. Like, you, that May was, so I had surgery April 22nd. The month of May was so frustrating. I think like I was within 3 pounds the whole month. Like, just, I think it was 489 to like 486, like the whole month. And I was so frustrated and I was getting so mad. And every day that I would post my little calendar, I'd put a little caption at the bottom about my frustration. And you were one of the people that was constantly like in my DMs reminding me, like, you just had major surgery, Caitlin, calm down. Like, your body's freaking out. Like, let it readjust, let it do its thing. And like, it's, you were right. Like, you were right. You know what I mean? Like, that month went by, my body is finally fully healing, and the scale is showing my consistency. And I think the one thing that I want to say for anyone listening that is dealing with a stall, is dealing with the scale not doing what they want it to do, like, stay consistent, because eventually you're gonna get what we call in the community the whoosh, and that scale is going to change. And just stay, like, don't give up. Like, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, well, I didn't lose weight this morning, so we're going to Burger King for breakfast. Or, look, the scale didn't move in 3 days, so I'm done. Like, just stay consistent.
I
And
would rather I would rather somebody not weigh themselves for a week and stay
right,
consistent than weigh themselves every day and then just get so discouraged that they're like, well, I'm out of here.
right,
Because the scale only tells one tiny piece of the story. The scale tells you how much mass you have. It doesn't tell you, you're now walking 15 plus minutes a day. Are you gaining muscle now? Or
right,
I mean, you could have like, some kind of like a sinus infection or something and gain weight because your body's retaining water because of it. Nobody
right,
tells you that stuff. Nobody
right,
tells you if you have a cough and you're 2 pounds up, it's well because you have, something's going on in your body. You're fighting something. It's pulling in resources. It's pulling in water to take care of something. Like I had a good friend of mine was like, he quit smoking and the scale stopped moving. I'm like, your body's going through a lot right now. You just
Right.
quit smoking. You smoked for a long time and now you're not. Your body's freaking out.
Right. And then like you're a guy, so I won't harp on it too much, but like as a woman, like we have a time of the month where the
Mhm.
scale isn't going to be awesome. And like that's really frustrating as a woman, but it's life and that's part of it. And as soon as that week or 7 to 11 days is over, like the scale will go back down. And that's something you have to remember.
That's why just looking at the trends is so important. So
Right.
like, and keeping, I'm sure you're keeping measurements, and I'm sure, you know, now one thing, I mean, kind of one of the inevitable questions that we see here, especially for someone, and you show off, and another one of the things that we were talking about that I wanted to discuss is one of the comments I saw is, why would you show your belly and all that? It's not like
Right.
nobody says that to the women who are, bending over on camera and doing what all the things. You're showing progress. You're showing, your belly apron and all that stuff, and you're showing progress, and you're showing things that's difficult to show. A lot
Yes.
of people would never show that, and I think it's commendable that you're willing to do that, because that's putting a lot on display. That's putting a lot of attention on you, most likely going to be negative attention. But I think,
Yeah.
as we've talked about prior, is it's important because there's a never ending supply of people out there who are just like you, seeing what you're doing, going, okay, I can do this. And, I just kind of want to see and talk about that a little bit, and that kind of thought process for you.
Right. So, for anyone that's not familiar, that's like listening or here, I post a weigh-in video every Wednesday, weigh-in Wednesday. And I am in the bare minimum. I am typically wearing a tank top that I have rolled up just under. And then I have underwear on that I have under my belly, so you can't even see them. And I film myself getting on the scale and weighing myself. And for me, I don't see my body type represented online or anywhere. I don't see my body type represented in clothing. I don't see my body represented in anything in any aspect. And I have felt so alone in this body, in the way that my stomach, I mean, my stomach hangs down to my knees. I haven't seen my thighs in years and years, and I feel so alone. I feel I I want to use past tense. I felt so alone. I felt like not human. I felt like some creature, some monster, like, and I know I'm not the only body type like that. So if I can show my body type and have one person be like, "Wow, I have the same stomach as her. I have the same body as her." And she's doing this. She's doing something to change it, and she is changing it. It is possible. That's why I post it. And I also like I do it for me. Like I can't tell you how many times I've gone to an old video, played it, took a screenshot during the video, and then compare it to my most recent video. You know what I mean? And when the scale's not doing what I want the scale to do, doing those things shows me that it is working. I remember my last weigh-in video, I turned to the side and I was just like, holy crap, like my stomach isn't sticking out to here like it normally would. It's now way over here. Like, and I can see those changes, and other people can see those changes. And I've had a few weeks of that video get on what we call the wrong side of TikTok. And they're filled with hate. And, I had one person recently tell me that bodies like this shouldn't exist. And like, that's so
They
like,
do.
I've,
I mean,
and they,
and I mean,
right.
and there is some truth to that. But I mean, we shouldn't be in a situation where education and all the things that goes through in our body, all of our lives culminating into that. It would be nice if that's the way that it didn't happen. You know what I mean? If we didn't
Right.
have to go through that, that would be awesome. But
Right.
we're here. So how do we handle it? Being a dickbag isn't handling it.
Right.
So I just think, I mean, there's a lot of sentiments out there that on the surface are true. We shouldn't have body types in this aspect. We should never get to that point, but we
But it
do.
does.
Yes, it's a reality. It's here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, how do we handle it? Little by little, hopefully, with what myself and the community that I'm in, the creators, we are all putting that out there. Hopefully, over time, we can start to win this war of, I think, just bad information, a lot of super cheap food that's on the market that does increase the ability to gain weight and all this stuff. There's just so much out there, and then being rude and hurtful doesn't help anybody. Somebody saying mean things doesn't keep you motivated. And I don't understand why people do it, but then again, I understand human nature, so I guess it's going to happen. But I don't want you or anyone else to get discouraged by it. So that's why I always try to be as positive as I can. And one other thing that I'd like to talk about, because I don't know how long you have today.
No, I got all day.
Okay. I want to talk about, so what would be the next steps? I know that it's early, but I know that most likely when you get to a certain point, you'll probably go with some sort of skin removal as well.
Yeah. So my surgeon has said when I get to 260, that's like the weight that he will approve me for skin removal. And he believes that I'll have about 40 to 60 pounds of skin to be removed. And my goal weight is like 200, 220. Hang on, the train's going by. I live right by the train. Um, I and this upsets a lot of people because a lot of people are like 200, 220, like that's still fat, that's still blah blah blah. I have no desire to be 100 and something pounds. I am a very confident woman. I like being thick. I like having curves. I want to be healthy thick is what I call it. So for me, 220, 200, I'm 5'8". I'm on the taller side for a female. Like I truly believe that that will be where I feel the best. If I get down there and I want to keep going, I can keep going. If I get down there and I want to be a little bigger or a little more filled, I have that I have that I have that choice. But my doctor thinks that I can get to 260 with this surgery if I do what I'm supposed to do. And then we will do skin removal. And with his estimates after skin removal, I'll be right where I want to be. So that's the plan. I will say I will not be doing any leg skin removal. I do have for some of my size, I do have smaller legs. But I've seen so many horror stories of leg skin removal that like I've just been turned off of it. I'll definitely be doing arms. I'll definitely be doing my belly and my back. I do want new boobs once I lose all this weight. But other than that, like that's my plan. And a big part of the skin that people are like, "Oh, but what about the skin? What about the skin?" I am doing what I can now to be proactive about that with the strength training and things like that and trying to build muscle while losing the fat. Um and I'm going to be honest. The idea of looking at my body with a bunch of loose skin scares me. And I know like when I get to that point, the body dysmorphia is going to be really big for me and things like that. I feel like I'm going to look at my body with all this loose skin and think, "Wow, you looked better fat." Um but I have to remember that if I keep going and keep reaching for my goal, I get to cut it all off. And I think that's going to be probably the most challenging thing for me mentally is seeing the loose skin and keep going instead of like wanting to be like, "Okay, you looked way better bigger. Like, let's go back.
Even for someone like me, I've been doing this for over 8 years. I still have moments where I look in the mirror and see what I looked like 8 years ago, 9 years ago, whatever the case is. I don't think that that ever truly goes away,
Right.
but you gain tools on how to deal with it. Like you said, take screenshots of older photos and you compare them to new ones. That was one of the things that I had to do early on because I would look in the mirror, I didn't see any difference. Yeah, I was seeing a number on the scale go down, but I would never see any difference in me and how I looked. And it was terrifying. And so one day I was like, okay, I haven't done a side by side, and I did one, and I'm like, okay, okay, all right, this it's working.
Right. And like a big thing too
And
is like I've lost 131 pounds. That's a lot of freaking weight. And I don't look like I've lost 131 pounds because I have so much to lose. And the people in my life see me on a daily basis. So it's hard to see that much weight loss when you see me every single day. But when I do the photos of the side by sides or the videos of the side by sides, like that's when I see it. That's when my best friend that I live with sees it. Um, that steering wheel video that I recently posted, like that was a huge, huge eye opener for me. Like my stomach used to cover the logo on the middle of the steering wheel. And now I am less than a centimeter away from not even touching the steering wheel. Like that's when I know like it's working. This is like we're doing this. My clothes are starting to fit better. Like I just there's so much more than the number on the scale to determine your success and your progress.
one thing for me, and I don't know if you've experienced this or not, but one of the things that happened to me that cemented this lifestyle for me was sitting at work, and I had always struggled with that midday crash where it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm starting to doze off. I'm getting drowsy. I'm kind of, like fighting to stay awake to do the work at the computer. I did insurance work. So, and there was always like bowls of candy around the office. There was always some kind of leftovers somewhere. There was always something in the office, and you just kind of start scrounging around looking for food. And one day it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I realized what time it was. I wasn't foggy. I was clear headed. It was like I was living in HD. And I knew at that moment, I wasn't trying to fight my way to stay awake. And I was just like, you know what? This right here is worth every single piece of it because
Yeah,
I'm not struggling to be awake in the middle of the day.
right.
And that was more than the weight loss. That was more than anything. Just being at work, not feeling like I'm trudging through like wet cement all day, just like because it was felt so foggy. My brain always felt just like dull and like just you couldn't get through the day. And I don't know if you've experienced that or not. I don't know. But I know you're eating more of a you're eating a relatively keto way of life. You may not be getting as much fat as I was. So
Right.
for every day for about 2 years in the beginning, I was having a coffee cup this size, and it was 165 grams of fat. So a half a stick of butter and like 6 to 8 tablespoons of coconut oil blended in with my coffee, and that was 1,100 calories in just coffee. So I don't necessarily deal with calories, but it's a way to kind of explain what
Right.
I'm talking about. And the idea that I was putting, you think about people in like in popular culture that promote butter and like, oh, you're gonna have a heart attack. Oh, that I think saved me.
Right.
It kept me going. It kept me feeling full. It kept me satiated when I didn't even know what the satiety was. And that's just one of those things. Like the little things like that were so huge to where fat was a big part of my life, and well as protein. So I just, like, and you're basically doing the same thing, probably a little less fat.
Yeah.
Um, but
But like my carbs are like non-existent.
yeah,
And
even
like
still to
I'm
this
always like,
day.
I'm not keto, I'm not keto. But and I don't know why I have such that like defense mechanism when it comes to keto. But like I'm pretty like, I mean, when it comes to the carb aspect, I am eating a keto diet. Like you said, the fat, because of my new stomach, I have to be low fat, because my new stomach just can't handle a lot of fat. Although I wanted to talk to my doctor about this actually, because one of the reasons they want you to go low fat after surgery is because it can cause gallbladder issues. But when I lost the 130 pounds back in 2019, I lost my gallbladder. So I don't know where that
So,
falls into play
so
with.
one of the main reasons that causes gallbladder issues is a low fat diet. So
Yeah.
so basically, I'm not trying to mansplain or whatever, but what basically
No,
the
you're
purpose of
fine.
basically what the purpose of a gallbladder is, it's like a coin purse for bile. Bile
Hmm.
breaks down fat, but if bile doesn't get used, it begins to crystallize, and those crystals build up and cause the pain and all that stuff inside your gallbladder, then leading it to be removed.
Right.
So your body will still produce bile, which helps break down the fat, and I imagine that there's people in here today that don't have gallbladders that still eat a relatively high fat diet. It's
Right.
just one of those things that does take a little time to acclimate your body to it, but your body will do wondrous things. We've already discussed this, where your gallbladder or your is it pancreas or liver? I can't remember which one makes the bile. I can't remember. I'm going to get beat up in the comments for not remembering, but um, it'll make enough bile to support whatever you're eating. It would just take a little bit of time. So I would say, and I'm obviously not your doctor. This is not medical advice, but I would say you would probably be fine upping your fat a little bit over time, and then that'll also help with maybe some satiety and energy, because realistically, our bodies were designed to run off both fat as well as a glucose.
Hmm.
But when we primarily feed ourselves glucose, it turns off the body's ability to process fat or burn fat for fuel, therefore storing and storing and storing. And then we just get bigger and bigger and bigger instead of utilizing the fat as we go. So, looks like my friend Evelyn here has a question. Let's see. Question: are you feeling full enough though you don't eat fat?
So I do eat fat. I just like, I'm not having no fat.
Right.
I eat a lot of dairy still. And I do feel full. I definitely will be eating, and it's like I tap out. Like I'm good. Like I have I find myself having those moments where it's like, Keelan, you probably should have stopped a few bites ago. But I think that's normal because I ate myself to 600 pounds. I'm not gonna heal that relationship with food overnight. So I've definitely caught myself being like, okay, you're too full. But I do like, I definitely feel full. And I'm not really hungry. I have, most days I have to, I don't want to say force myself to eat, but I have to like be like, Keelan, you've only had like a protein shake and some deli turkey. Like you gotta go downstairs and make something to eat. Like you gotta fuel your body. And I think that's the big difference for me is I'm fueling my body with food rather than living to eat, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand. I still, even 8 years in, I still have issues with binging and food
Right.
addiction issues and such. I have leaps and bounds better control.
Yes.
I have so much better control over how I eat, the choices I make, the foods that I bring into the house. I mean, I'm the primary person who goes into I do all the cooking, I do all the grocery shopping, I do basically all of that. So I am the gatekeeper for what comes in the house.
Right.
And I cook for what my wife eats. I make her lunches before she goes to work. I make the food for our granddaughter. I mean, we're not the average grandparents where we're feeding her candy and send her home. We feed her eggs and meat, though she fights us. But, you know, I just, it's just something that does take time, but that food control does come with consistency, and you start to learn about yourself too. Like I learned a lot about me. Like I never even thought about food addiction issues. I never thought about things of that nature. I just knew that, I would pick where we went to eat based on who gave me the most food for the least amount of money.
Yep.
And if I
Yep.
didn't even, well, even now, I mean, even now it's still sort of the same way, but considering how I eat primarily just meat, I don't want to go somewhere where I'm paying $15 for a single patty of burger. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm just not going to do it. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
But, I mean, we'll go out for Mexican food sometimes and they have like the fajita plates and they give you a decent amount of food without having to add in the rice and the beans and the tortillas and stuff. Um, but it's not like it used to be. Like I grew up with my mom. My mom passed away like in 2013. She was big her whole life and she passed away from strokes and all that stuff. Complications too, being diabetic and all that stuff. But
Right.
I grew up with her and my great aunt going to buffets all the time. That was the thing. They would get together and we'd go to buffets and just, these, that was a thing we did all the time. And whether it was like a pizza buffet or a regular, like whatever, like we had they called them smorgasbords, and just, that's how I grew up. And then that translates into being an adult eating the lowest common denominator of food. Like I even now joke about like Taco Bell. Taco Bell used to be the cheapest food on the planet. Now you're spending $20 for two burritos, and I'm like, what
Right.
happened?
I used
But
to be able to do so much damage at Taco Bell with $20. Like
now you
it
can't.
now you can't, no. But I did want to touch on something that you said that reminded me. The one thing that has changed with my diet and food is quality over quantity. There was a point getting to 600 pounds where I was just eating for quantity. I was looking at the menu and finding what was going to be the biggest serving, what had the most components in the meal. I didn't care how good it tastes. I didn't care if there were other options that I liked more. Like I was going to get whatever was going to be the most. And now I'm choosing quality over quantity. And the food tastes so much better. Like it's been such a weird like mindset. And it's in to go back on what I was saying a little earlier too, like I still find myself having like a fat brain, like I call it the fat girl brain. Like I will go to like Popeyes once in a while and I'll get the blackened chicken, which is just like grilled chicken. And it's like you can get 3 pieces or you can get five. And it's like I still order the five, knowing like I'm barely gonna get through two. So like it's just like I still am dealing with that aspect like mentally. Like I still want to order like I'm nearly 600 pounds, even though like I'm not gonna eat it. I'm not gonna be able to finish it. I'm not gonna like it's been a hard thing to disconnect.
I think like something like that, I would utilize to an advantage. I would say if you're only going to eat two, you're basically getting 2.5 meals for cheaper than buying.
Right.
So I would say buy it, break it apart, eat it later. I mean, if that's something that you can do,
And that's what I've been
um,
doing.
yeah,
Tons of leftover meals.
because that's still something that I think about. Like it was never, like why would I buy like, and it's still a mentality to have today. Like, why would you order a medium pizza where a large pizza you're getting so much more pizza for less money?
Right.
You're just mathematics there, you know what I mean? It's like it is a difficult mindset to leave. And I think that's one of the biggest pieces that people don't understand is like just the way that you think about food. Food was, and I know that there's some creators out there like I don't know if you know who Ethan Suplee is.
Yeah.
He talks about, food isn't entertainment, it's not, but realistically food may not be entertainment, but food is family, food is function, food is for people religion, it's a lot of things, and it's difficult to separate that stuff. Like when like at birthday times, you know
Right.
you're going to celebrate someone's birthday, there might be cake, and I would say If you're a person who has no food control yet, then obviously you're going to avoid that. But I think it's kind of an impossibility to avoid it forever.
Right.
But
I think
trying to get
a big thing with that too, like when you say that, I think of celebration. Anytime we have something to celebrate, we celebrate with food, or at least I do. My kids had their last day of school. Where are we going out to eat tonight? My kids get A's on their report card. Where are we going out to eat? Like they go hand in hand. So to like figure out other ways that we can celebrate and have holidays and things like that and have it not be centered around food, I think is really important. And I just wanted to say this before I lose my train of thought, which I'm losing my train of thought as I say that. Okay, go ahead. I lost it. It's
I
gone.
was going to say, and those are also opportunities, because a lot of times that stuff isn't going to go away, whether it's going out for a work lunch with like it's a mandatory thing to go out with your bosses or what, depending on what kind of line of work you're in, or people have that. There's work lunch meetings, there's all kinds of things where food is inevitable.
Right.
Learning how to make the best choices in those scenarios is paramount as well. So taking the kids out, because you don't want your kids to suffer. You don't want your kids, because it's that give and take. You don't want your kids to feel less than their friends.
Right.
You don't want your kids to feel different than their friends, but you want them to make better choices than maybe their friends do.
Right.
And obviously it doesn't always work out, but leading by example, like learning what to order at each restaurant, starting to utilize the online menus before you go to kind of get like a plan of attack. We do that all the time. Like if we're
Right.
going somewhere and we don't have a choice of where we're going, we can look at the menu in advance. And if there's nothing that looks right on the menu, then we have the ability to go, well, I'm just going to get a glass of water or a glass of soda or like Diet Coke or Coke Zero, Diet Pepsi, whatever. And we can make those choices based on the information that we have. And it does kind of lead into Sean. Sean has a question here. He asks, let me, if I can get my mouse to work. He says, has your doctor or nutritionist talked to you about intermittent fasting? And I imagine that it's probably too soon for that.
So I loved intermittent fasting. When I lost the 130 pounds in 2019, I was doing IF. And I was doing 16-8, which is my happy place. I would do like some fast. I would join Gormy on like his fast that he would do, and I would challenge myself and do those and like the multiple days and stuff like that. But 16-8 was where I had the most success. It's where I felt the most comfortable. I loved it. However, now that I have this new stomach and I have to eat, I don't want to say so much protein because it's really not a lot of protein, but to reach my protein goal, I have to be eating all day. So to only have an 8-hour window to get in the amount of food that I need to get in just isn't realistic right now. Do I think the more I heal and the more I learn my new stomach, will it be possible down the road? I hope so. I believe so. But right now, I mean, my morning coffee, that's 30 grams of protein. I make it at 8:30. I'm still sipping on that at noon, 1 o'clock. You know what I mean? Like I need as many hours as I can get in the day right now to get in what I need to get in. But people that do IF, and I praise it. Like IF worked for me, and if it's working for you, please keep doing it. Like I think it's great. And
I
the
mean, there's
science
definitely,
behind
yes.
it. I mean, I can't talk scientifically right now because that's not who I am. But like there is a lot of research on it and a lot of science, and it makes sense like how it works and why it works and all that.
In theory, being able to get back to a place where you're doing intermittent fasting would help with autophagy, which would, in theory, help with some of the loose skin that you have as well.
Right.
So, but I mean, it's one of those things where that's kind of one of, I would say, a downside to the surgery is it kind of eliminates that ability for a while, maybe even to some degree, maybe permanently. to be able
Mhm.
to have a, a legitimate intermittent fasting schedule. For a long time, I was doing like 23-1. I got to the point where I was like, I don't want to meal prep for work. I don't want to spend time cooking for work. I'm going to cook when I get home for the kids and the wife when that, now we're empty nesters, but when everybody was living here and I was making dinner every night, I was like, well, I can eat at work during the day and then come home and awkwardly sit at the kitchen table and watch them eat, or I can shift my eating window to when I get home from work, I cook dinner, we all have that meal together, and then I'm good. And then I don't have to, like I said, I don't have to do the meal prep, remember to bring my lunch, bring back a container to clean and to doing it. Cause I mean, I'm a little lazy when it comes to that stuff. I don't like to think about that. The less I can think about, the more I can streamline my day, the better.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, there's obviously downsides to surgery. There's obviously upsides to surgery. Um, I would like to get it to where hopefully in a later date we can get people to where they don't need to have the surgery anymore. Um, but I know that I mean, it can be an effective tool as long as it's done correctly,
Right.
and the people who do it like you who are consistent and can stay consistent and then build on it. I just worry that it does, like you said, it is possible if you wanted to go back and just basically push through and then just get get big again.
Right.
That's what's scary to me is I don't necessarily know if you're fixing the root cause.
Right. Very
So
true.
and Brett had another question. He's like, do you have a fasting routine? And yeah, so we've discussed that a little bit here, especially since it's so early after surgery. Um, I mean, it's probably going to be a little. I mean, who knows when, but I imagine it'll be something that you're looking at.
Right.
Um, and
Yeah,
he
because
makes a
I
good
like I
point.
said, I've enjoyed it. All my
Yeah,
experience with it, I've really enjoyed it. Um, so I mean, I would love to go back. I just know right now it's not realistic.
right.
I mean, I don't know what a hot meal is anymore. The first couple bites of my meals are nice and hot and warm, and then by the time I'm done eating, it's so cold.
So you're eating like a toddler.
Yeah,
'Cause I don't think my granddaughter ever eats anything warm.
right,
It'll sit there. She's like, I'm going to play first.
right.
Okay. And let's see. Schmendel says, is there therapy after surgery?
Yep. So
Counseling?
my surgeon, like my team, I call them my team because there's so many people involved. But my team required surgery prior and to have surgery after. I mean, therapy prior and therapy after. I am a firm believer that I think everybody should be in therapy. I think we all could benefit from therapy. I am a very big advocate on mental health. I am very open with my mental health journey. I have diagnosis. I take medication on a daily basis. I am probably in the best place mentally that I've been in a very long time. But definitely, mental health is definitely a priority for me, especially more so even after surgery.
And that leads into another question. Do you think that the way that you've been eating as of late is a benefit to your mental health?
I do for sure. Um, the way that I was eating at nearly 600 pounds was just like I was disgusted in myself. You know what I mean? Like I was embarrassed. I did a lot of eating alone. I did a lot of hiding. Like I hid a lot of my binging. A big part of my story is I live with my best friend. We've been best friends for over 20 years. She's my roommate. We raise our kids together. We're best friends. And she gets a lot of hate. Not, I don't want to use the word hate, but she gets a lot of people in our lives that is like, why do you let her eat like that? Why did you let her get that big? And it's like she couldn't control. One, I'm a grown adult. And two, like I hid. I would get out of work and I'd stop at multiple fast food places, eat all my food, go to the car wash, empty out my car, and then go home and walk through the door and be like, "So what are we doing for dinner tonight?" Like it's just that's where I was, and I was disgusted and I was embarrassed, and I was constantly full and uncomfortable. And like you mentioned the whole sleeping thing, like I was sleeping so freaking much when like if I wasn't eating, I was sleeping. Like that's how I was living my life. And like it was just so depressing. And my whole life and my whole schedule revolved around food. When was I going to eat again? How was I going to eat again? Where was I going to eat again? And like that's no way to live. So now that food isn't controlling my life anymore, my mental health has gone up significantly. My confidence has gone up significantly. My desire to live has gone up significantly. Like I want better for myself finally, and I know that I deserve better. Where there was a part last year when I was actively gaining and in that community, like I thought that's what I deserved. I thought that was my destiny. That's where my life was heading. And like now I want so much more for myself. And it's been such an amazing feeling.
And that's incredible. I think
Yeah.
that's the true testament that it's never too late
Right.
to change. And it is crazy how food can dictate mental, like I truly think that there is a connection between food and mental health.
Hmm.
And one of the things that was kind of scary, or it is kind of scary, I was thinking about making a video about it, but I know some people have made it. But there are a lot of studies going on, like utilizing like keto, carnivore, all these things to help with mental health. There was even a study, I want to say it was in Maryland. I can't remember for sure, but there was a study going on and the effects of a ketogenic diet being used to treat schizophrenia, and then the state shut it down because it was a privately funded study in a state-run hospital, and so they shut it down. So there's like a fundraiser thing going on, trying to, I don't know what they're trying to do, to be honest with you. I don't know how they can get around to skirt the law where they don't want privately funded studies in a state-run hospital, even if there were. I mean, I don't know. The articles didn't go into super detail, but
Right.
just things like that. I think there's so much out there, so much to do with the way we eat, and I think there's definitely there's correlation between like the rise in obesity and the rise of mental health issues that we see, and since like the beginning of the 80s, like almost you can see like the graphs. It's like obesity grows, diabetes grows, mental health issues grow, and I just think there's so much that we need to learn and so much we can improve. Um, yeah. Jen wants to know. She's like, "May I ask how young you are?"
I am 33 years old. So I still have so much life to live. And it's I think a lot of people are shocked to see how young I am, and how much I've been through and things like that. But I'm 33. My kids are 6 and 9. And yeah, I am young. I like to think I'm young.
Yeah, I just turned 45, so um, let's see. And she said that you're wise beyond your years.
Oh, thank you.
Jen's a sweetheart. She
Thank you,
lives down the street
Jen.
from me. Yeah, a lot of these people I know in person too,
Oh, that's cool.
and they're saying like we have meetups. I know you say you live in Salem, so Massachusetts.
Yep.
I have a friend that lives, and I'm gonna forget. She doesn't live far from you. Oh, I can't believe I'm forgetting where she lives. She lives in Massachusetts too, but not that far away. But
Yeah.
yeah, I want to visit Salem and Halloween, but I know it's probably crazy.
Don't do it.
At least
It's not
once I'd
worth
have to
it.
visit. It's not worth it. Come
It's
on.
not worth it. We are say like that's the thing. Like Salem is open all year long. And people come here September through October 31st. November 1st, it's dead. Um, and like you can't do anything. All the tours are sold out, all the restaurants are fully booked, all the hotels are booked. Like you can't even walk. You can't even take a full step without someone being right in front of you. You're legit crawling down the streets. Like, it's just, there's too many people for you to truly enjoy and have that experience of Salem. I recommend coming like September. Like, if you want to come in the fall, I recommend like early September, like right after Labor Day weekend, or come November 1st. Like, everything will still be open. All the museums are still open. All the tours are still open. Like, and I just think it's so much more enjoyable without that many. Like, it's so many. Like, when I tell you, you can't take a full step in the month of October in Salem, like, I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah, so sounds like November 1st would be the best time to come.
Yeah.
That way, because I mean, it just wouldn't be the same to come like, to Salem and it's like 95 degrees outside.
Right. Right.
So let's see. Jen says, as a Halloween baby, her birthday is Halloween. Salem is on her bucket list.
It's so, I've lived here my whole life. And like, I mean, I did all the museums and stuff when I was in elementary school for like field trips and stuff. But like, I don't know. I think it's because I live here, and like, I don't get the big hype.
Well, it's like I live down the street from the Indianapolis 500.
Right.
Like the biggest race, one of the biggest spectacles in racing in the world. I drive by it all the time. It's just a gigantic racetrack to me, but like I've had people in from out of town like, oh my God, yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, or people who live in like Kissimmee, Florida.
Right.
Like I'm going and I'm like, Mickey Mouse is here. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Like, I'm planning a family vacation for me and the boys at the end of August, and we're going into Myrtle Beach. And I've been on live and stuff on TikTok, and I've talked about it, and people are like, I live here, don't come here. Like, don't come to Myrtle Beach. Like, that's not a vacation. And I just think
yeah,
it's
like well, that's
funny.
what we were looking at the differences between like when we were planning to go on like go to the beach, we were looking so where we are and where Myrtle Beach is versus like Gulf Shores, Alabama. They're like basically equidistant to us. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's 11 hours either way we go.
Right.
But we were looking at like, then we started looking, okay, if they're the exact same, we were looking at, well, the crime stats were better in Alabama. There was less crime in Alabama.
Right.
Alabama's more family friendly. Alabama's not so party centric. So like, well, we've gone to Alabama. Like there was time we went like 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
So like we would just look at things like that where like Myrtle Beach, Cindy says, she goes, her husband and her are going to New Hampshire in August. How far are you away from Nashua, New Hampshire are you? I don't
It's
know.
like 45 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
No.
I think they're from New Hampshire, I think.
Yeah. No, it's like 45 minutes.
I should know this. She's like my bonus mom. I should know this. I just saw them all like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we get together quite a bit. So I put on with the help of Jennifer and Jackie, who was not in here. We do a meetup. We do 2 meetups a year now here in Central Indiana, and so we do one in May, and then we do one like October, November. This year it's going to be in November. We do that here, and then there's like Columbus, Ohio meetups. Then we're going to Keto Palooza in Louisville, Kentucky in October.
Hmm.
I don't know what kind of meetups are out in your neck of the woods. I don't really know. Like I understand geography, but like how all the little states all connect to each other out there, I don't understand.
Right.
Like I'll look at a map, I'm like, oh, that's what it looks like, and then I forget.
Right.
I mean, I've been all over the place like for meetups, and so yeah, they're always like, God, come to a meetup, come to a meetup. I'm like, if you want to drive from Salem.
Right. I've never been to any meetup that's part of like the weight loss health journey community. Yeah, I want to. I have so many people that I want to meet. It's funny because me and Gormy, when we first connected online, we were like neighbors. Like, we were within like 20 minutes of each other. And then as we got closer and built like a friendship, he moved to California.
Yeah. That was kind of like for a while. I don't know if you know who Wes is. He does Highfalutin Low Carb channel.
Yep.
Does a lot of like recipe battles and stuff. He lived in Indianapolis area for a while, but it wasn't until he moved to California did we get to know each other, sort of.
Right.
So, yeah. And Brett's asking, he's like, do you plan to go any meetups in your area or even have any meetups if there aren't
I
any
don't
already
even like I
planned?
don't even know how to look for them.
Well,
Like,
there's a website that's actually hosted by Chris. Chris is like the owner of Keto Chow and Salty.
mhm.
And that's lowcarbevents.com.
Okay.
And that's a thing you could look into, Keto Chow. It's a little bit cleaner than the average store-bought like protein meals,
Yep.
and they have a lot more flavors. So that'll always be something to take a look at.
Right.
Um, uh, and most of us probably have a discount code or something
Yeah.
we could order, so you don't have to pay full price.
Right.
But yeah, it's just one of those things. Yeah, because Brett says that meetups are empowering. Like the one we went to was like 2 weeks ago. I have like an hour and a half of testimonials from just about everybody there, everybody telling their stories.
Right.
I've got to edit it and put it up, and then maybe make it into shorts and stuff, so maybe you can draw people in and stuff. But I just think it's so important to get stories out there, and so people can know that this is real life. It's so
Right.
easy to see in a TikTok or a reel or something, or even just a Facebook post or whatever, and it doesn't seem real.
Right.
But I mean, you're a real person. Because I think if people truly took into account that you are a real, living, breathing person who has daily struggles, and you didn't get this way just from being, lazy or whatever. I mean, it's just,
Right.
I'm not that it just happens, but it's almost, it just I mean, it does happen in a manner that you don't even expect, and it just then
Right.
you're there.
I mean,
So
and I definitely know that I have a powerful story. I definitely know that, and I've had a lot of people be like, "Oh, we won't like do podcasts and do like live interviews and stuff." So I was really happy that you outreached me, because this is like the kind of stuff that I want to do, because I do want to get my story out there, and I do want people to know that like it's possible. Like, I was nearly 600 pounds, like, and I'm doing it, and I'm succeeding, and I work full time. I'm a single mom. Like, one of my children has autism. Like, I'm an autism mom. Like, there's so much more to me than just losing weight. And I think when I do things like podcasts, and I do things like going on live with people, like, people get to see more of my authenticity, and like the fact that like I am a real human being, and I'm not just the 60-second clip that you see on TikTok and Instagram. And I have more personality and things like that.
Evelyn says, host a meetup in Salem. And she says, can we say theme party?
You're right. That'd be
She'll come
cool.
and she'll make everybody in Salem a bracelet.
Yeah.
And then Cindy is asking, Caitlin, if you are not busy and willing to meet me and my husband, I will message you on Instagram. And she puts her Instagram handle there just in case.
Yeah, send me a message and we can connect.
Well, that's fantastic. She is sweet. She'll like
Yeah,
sweet you to death.
I
I
love
pick
it.
on her. But I want to say thank you so much for being here today. It really
Yeah, of
means a lot to
course.
me.
Whenever you
And
want
I'm
to
gonna
have me again, just let me know. You're a little too early for me. I was rushing this morning. I was actually on live on TikTok getting ready. And I was like, it was like counting down the minutes, and I like still had to do my hair, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I told him 11, but he was like, no, let's do 10. And I was
well,
just
you
like, it was
said
like,
10 or 11, and I'm always gonna
I
go for the
know, I
earlier
know.
of the two.
But it's my
Because
kid-free weekend.
yeah.
I was like, this man wants me to get up early on my kid-free weekend? Like, come on. But I'm just kidding. I'm happy we did
I'll be live
this.
again tomorrow at 7:30. So
Yeah.
but I just want to again say thank you so much. Your story is compelling. It's opened my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't know about, that there's a whole subculture that's
Yeah.
actually terrifying. Like,
And that, like, I would love to talk about that more in depth, but I feel like that's like another like an episode in its own. But it's real. It's happening. You mentioned, people are dying. Someone in that community died a couple weeks ago, a week, like 1 or 2 weeks ago now, and that really impacted me. I wouldn't consider her like a friend, but like we connected when I entered the community. She outreached me, and she died. And death feederism is a real thing, and it's becoming more and more popular. Like you mentioned earlier, like the mukbang videos, like those are catered to the feederism community. You know what I mean? And people aren't seeing that, and they're not getting that connection. And I've talked, I know we're trying to end this, but I've talked about it before. Like, it's so hard for me to do content sometimes because of my size. Anything I do for content is catering to that community, especially in the beginning when I would sit there on a TikTok and I would be out of breath while talking. That catered to that community. Like, me showing what I eat in a day and taking a bite, even if it's eggs, like filming myself taking a bite of a healthy breakfast is catering to the feederism community. Me posting the steering wheel and my stomach covering the steering wheel, that caters to that community. So it's really hard for me sometimes to put out the content at the size that I am. Me standing in front of my mirror taking my weight caters to that community. Like, it's been a very frustrating but like opening thing, and I feel like more people need to know about it.
And is this something that you've been like? I haven't seen all of your content, but is this something that you're outspoken about on your own content? Do you think there
I
would be
am
backlash in that?
it's definitely not a majority of my content, but I do once in a while I'll post like a 10-minute video where I talk about the community and I'll answer questions and stuff like that. um I haven't really gotten like backlash from it. I'll have a few people once in a while comment on a video and be like, I'm a feeder, which is what they're called in that community. I was a feedie, so I was being fed by feeders. And I've had feeders comment on my videos and be like, like, we're not all like that. And they'll try to like justify why they're in the community and that it's embracing women and their bodies and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like, you're feeding women to become immobile and to die. And like, I just, it's hard for me because when I was in that lifestyle, I did glamorize it. And you know what I mean? The money was good, the attention was good. Um, and now that I'm out of it, it's important for me to share my story about it because I have had numerous people come to me since I've gone public and sharing my story that they have found the strength to leave as well. So that's why I will keep talking about this community despite any backlash that I get from it.
And I'm seeing questions here asking if you're gonna like great. They're saying great interview, which is very compelling. And there are, if you don't have a YouTube channel, are you looking to create one?
So I get asked if I'm going to do YouTube on a daily basis. YouTube really, like, I'm very is it intimidized? Is that the word I want to use?
Intimidated?
Intimidated by
Yeah.
YouTube. I feel like I can barely do TikTok and Instagram. I am not tech savvy. I don't know how to edit stuff. I don't know anything. So I'm definitely intimidated by YouTube, but so
YouTube, if
many
you're
people
doing the
are
short
wanting
form
it.
content, YouTube has a phone app that will edit videos just like kind of like how I don't know if TikTok does, but YouTube has a like a phone editing app that you can use, or you can use something like I think you're on an Apple device. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if Vlog Now, which is what I started doing YouTube with before I upgraded to doing everything on my computer.
right.
But so there's ways to edit content. There's like CapCut that you can use. There's a lot of tools out there to make things easier. But I think if you were able to even just go like start with YouTube and just start learning.
Right.
You don't have to be the most, but I think your story is compelling, and I think that it in a long form content with YouTube, and I think you would have a lot of people who would follow you, and I mean, I think it would be I think it would be beneficial. And
Yeah.
Cindy's asking if you would like to come onto her. So I was on their live stream last night. But
Yep.
Cindy and Sana do a live stream. I don't know if Sana will be doing it in September, but she's asking if you would do a live stream with them on a Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. They're booking into September right now.
Yeah, so send me a message. Like I said, I am a full-time mom. I am kid-free every other weekend. And I actually become kid-free at like 5 on that every other Friday. So 6:30 would actually be an ideal time. I would just want to book it on a weekend where I am kid-free.
Sure.
But yes, I'm definitely interested.
All right, fantastic. Just want to make sure that your story gets out to as many people as possible, because I think this was far more eye-opening than I was prepared for, to be honest with you. So I mean, I learned a lot more than I bargained for here, which is always a plus. And I think your story is far more compelling, even than I was thinking. I knew, weight loss and finding out how somebody can get to 600 pounds. No, I got over 400 pounds. If I wouldn't have stopped in, I 700 pounds. I don't know. I could have got there.
Right.
So again, such a wonderful conversation. I truly appreciate you getting up early for me on your kid-free weekend
Yes.
and coming and sharing your story with me. And I'll definitely have you back on in a later time. I've been
Perfect.
not doing as many Saturdays, but I need to get back into doing these as soon as I have more of a concrete schedule set. But I want to thank everybody who's been here asking questions, everybody who is a member and all that stuff. And if you want to stick around for a minute after this, we'll talk for a minute before we go. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.